Hello everyone, and welcome to the lecture on resume preparation. So what we're going to do for this lecture is check out a sample resume and highlight 12 key factors from it. So on your left, we have an example resume, and the first thing we're going to notice is that it's one page. So recruiters do not read your resume. They do about a 15 to 30 second spot check of your resume. When your resume is too long, it just takes your best stuff, the stuff that would have made the one-page cut, and dilutes it with more mediocre content. So lengthy resumes don't make you more impressive. A good rule of thumb is to keep your resume to one page if you have less than 10 years of experience, or at most 2 pages if you have more than 10 years of experience. The second point we want to make here is there's no objective statement. So all an objective does is state in a wordy way what position you're interested in. So the company already knows that because you applied for a particular position. So at best, it's just going to waste space. And at worst, it'll limit you since it'll exclude other positions that might have been interesting to you, that the company may have been considering you for. So again, my recommendation is to not put an objective statement on your resume. Third point we want to make here is to use a resume template with columns. So unless you're great with design, you probably shouldn't be creating your own resume template. It'll most likely just look sloppy. So after this lecture, we'll go over some resume creation tools, and in the third lecture of this section, there's actually a list of resume creation websites. So again, you'll be using a template of some sort. Don't try to do it on your own unless you're actually applying for a position where design is a key factor to your skills. Number 4. Use tables. So again, if you're using Microsoft Word to create your resume, which you probably should, or at least some sort of Word editor, you should use Microsoft Word's tables. Just make sure to hide the borders afterwards. So if you look at number 4 here, this allows you to organize things better. So point number 5 that we want to make is to keep bullets short. Because resume screeners only spend anywhere between 15 and 30 seconds on your resume, the length of the bullets, anything that feels like a paragraph, just won't get read. So keep your bullets to 1 or 2 lines, with 1 line being better than 2. Point number 6 we want to make is that accomplishment oriented. So your bullets should focus on your accomplishments, that is the impact you had, rather than your responsibilities. You should be describing what did you build, create, design, optimize, lead, etc. Another key factor to a good bullet point is to quantify things. So whenever possible, you should quantify your accomplishments. If you optimize something, by how much? If you won an award, out of how many people? If you saved a certain amount of money on a project, how much? Okay, this is more for students, but on number 8, your general rule of thumb is to list your GPA if it's at least 3.0 or higher. But there are 2 important rules to know here. The first one is you may choose to list your in-major GPA if it's higher than your overall GPA, but you need to specify that it's your in-major GPA. Point number 2 here is if your school uses a different scale, such as a 10-point scale, you may want to convert your GPA to a 4.0 scale, which will be more widely understood, especially if you're applying to USA companies. Point number 9 is projects. So most candidates should pick their top 3 to 5 projects to list on their resume. These can be academic required projects or just independent projects that you decided to take on. They do not need to be completed or launched either. As long as you've done enough of the meaty amount of work on them, that's good enough to put them on your resume. Point number 10 on additional experience. So you can put additional experience like leadership activities or awards in a section like this, such as shown on this resume. So change the name of the section depending on what you list. Be careful here to focus on what really matters. If you're applying for a coding role, your role as an Eagle Scout in high school is probably not really important or relevant to the position you're applying to. Point 11, languages and technologies. So it's a good idea to list your languages and technologies, but remember that anything you list here will be fair game for the interview to test. So if you want to list a language but you happen to be a little rusty in it, consider listing it as something like C++ proficient, C# prior experience, etc. So you actually quantify your experience in each of those programming languages. So point 12, what did you not include? So you got to remember, is there anything impressive or interesting that you've done that you left out? About 50% of candidates leave out an important project or other component of their experience because it wasn't finished or official enough. So if you've done it and it's impressive enough to make the cut, you shouldn't just list everything you've ever done. Keep that in mind. But if it's impressive enough to make the cut, then it belongs on your resume. Alright, so up next are resume builder websites and a list of resume creation websites. Thanks everyone, I'll see you at the next lecture.